Great. Welcome to Digital Asset News. Take a top stories in crypto and break them down to bite-sized pieces. Today, just as the thumbnail suggests, we're going to take a look at Goldman Sachs getting a little bit more in depth into Bitcoin and a report that came out that asked the question, is Bitcoin more than a store of value? So we'll take a look at what's going on there. First, though, we'll take a look at essentially the market. Then we'll take a look at that second story, the Goldman Sachs, the earnings, as far as like what just happened and why their stock actually fell and what they're going to get into. Then we're going to talk about the fact that I'm biased, and I make no bones about it. I'm biased. I talk about the things that I invest into. I'm going to talk to you about Gensokishi. And then next to last, we'll talk about how a crypto exchange is going to buy a bank, and we'll see the finality of that in the next couple months. And lastly, we'll go over your top questions. So before we get into all that stuff, let's take a look at what is going on into the market. So today it is the 20th. Oh my God, the 19th, and it's 11:30. Beautiful day here in Puerto Rico, Guaynabo. And here's what we have as far as the market itself. So a little bit better than what it was yesterday. And yesterday we talked about the correlations. And of course, I feel there's a correlation between the traditional market in this space because so many different institutional investors are getting in. It only makes sense to me. I could be wrong. That's just how I see things. And then, of course, today we're up a pretty good amount. We're at the market cap dipped below 2 trillion yesterday. Now we're at 2.1, hopefully on the way back to that ever elusive 3 trillion, which we captured not too long ago in 2021. But here's what we got. So the last 24 hours and last hour even, we're up pretty good. Bitcoin's up 3%. Solana is up 2% last 24 hours. Cardano 0.3, 1.4 and 24. Anything big that went up? 4% for Near. If you're investing in your protocol, congratulations. Phantom, another layer 1 solution or layer 0, whichever you want to call it, up 10% in 24 hours, 16% in 7 days. That thing is going to be a monster. FTX token making some pretty good play. 10% for Theta. They're doing more things with the metaverse. I think that's one that I'm glad I actually hung on to. I think it's going to be big, but that's just me, not investment advice. This is just investment opinion. And then also we got another one down here called Stacks. And Stacks is what brings smart contract functionality onto the Bitcoin blockchain. I think that's going to be pretty big. 7.7% last 24 hours. Up almost 7% in 7 days. So looking like we're doing pretty good. So what is the whole thing today? What is going on? Well, I will tell you, if we take a look at some on-chain analysis, we'll skip that. I don't want to log in. What we really need to take a look at, on-chain analysis is fine. The same thing is happening. Ethereum is being taken off the exchanges, so as far as Bitcoin as well. But like we talked about, I feel like everything's kind of a little bit correlated. So we had a little bit of an increase here for the S&P for today. Then it went down a little bit. And we take a look at NASDAQ, which is more tech heavy. It's looking pretty good today. So I think like as we see more things going on with the traditional finance, I think it kind of bleeds over into our place. And that leads me to my next point, which is what we're going to talk about. Goldman Sachs, their earnings, and they're talking about Bitcoin. So here's what we have. This is by a newsletter. I always get it every day, Daily Upside. And it talks about how Goldman Sachs profits are weighed down by big bonuses and subpar trading. And when I read this to you and we talk about this, just remember just how much these guys are actually making. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you can make as much money as you want to as far as an executive, but you can kind of see how things are kind of layered out at the top. And that's what decentralization is hoping to remedy. So Goldman Sachs revealed 2021 was easily the most profitable year in its entire history, for which executives are swimming in bonus payouts. Again, I don't care what they do, good for them. Earnings fell a worrisome 13%, though, in the last 3 months of the year. Why? And it was all because of their trading team. Apparently, the trading team didn't meet up to its expectations. They traded the wrong things, got into the wrong deals, and it was down because of them solely, well, at least the most part. And then because there was a record profit of $21.2 billion in 2021, and it was boosted by a global deal-making surge that lined the pockets of investment banks. And they were actually called on to talk about mergers and acquisition, IPOs, and deals for which they were a part of those deals. Revenue at the bank's stock and bond trading unit, which made a killer off-market swings in 2020, fell 7% year over year to 4 billion, missing analysts' forecast. And that's why the earnings report came out and it was a little bit lackluster. And that's why you saw the actual stock for Goldman Sachs drop a little bit. And that's what happened. So what are they going to do? Well, we'll get in that in a second. So this is what it all comes down to. Because a weaker trading environment and then generous compensation, the most costly expense at Goldman Sachs and other banks, Goldman's compensation costs went up 33% because of the monster year they had. And they paid out almost 18 billion in 2021. 18 billion, signaling big bonuses for a record year. So it really comes down to Goldman Sachs had a pretty great year. Unfortunately, the trading just didn't work out too well for whatever reason. So then you got to take a look at, well, if we know, or if the hypothesis is that next year going into traditional markets and equities, we're not going to be as strong because, the Fed bailing everybody out and different things happening. So what can you turn to and what can you do? Well, there's another option out there, and it looks like something like this, which there was a report put out on January 5th. I found this very odd, the timing of it all, but it is what it is. Goldman Sachs says Bitcoin will compete with gold as a store of value. And this is all from Goldman Sachs analyst Zach Pendle said in a research note to clients, to all clients, hey, just so you know, Bitcoin's looking pretty good. And it's doing pretty well, even though there's some volatility, but maybe it could replace some of the store of value and beyond. So this is what he says. He says Bitcoin will most likely become a bigger proportion or share over time. This was a list of their 2022 predictions. And they even think that it's going to go to $100,000. In a hypothetical scenario in which Bitcoin grabs a 50% share of this market as far as store of value, it could reach over 100,000, maybe. That's why I didn't put it in the title or in the thumbnail, because it's just dumb. Because people will always put out like 100,000 price predictions and things like that. I think that we really shouldn't get caught up in these price predictions, because when we do, even I fell victim to that. Then we start to have expectations. When we have expectations for a certain price number, we don't meet them, and we're like, everything's falling. The sky is falling. But if we just take a zoom out and just take a look at everything, we're like, well, hold on, wait a minute. The S&P 500, which did a stellar year, only hit 26, 27%. Hedge funds out there that are supposed to beat that, only 4 of them beat that. And then if we take a look at gold and oil and things like that, didn't really do that great compared to crypto and digital assets. So if we just kind of get away from these price predictions and just go, well, this is what my portfolio did, this is what's going on, I think we'll be in a much better place. We don't have to hype up everything. This space is too much hypey, and I think it just gets away from us. That's just me. Let me know what you think about that in the comment section. Probably not a popular opinion, but it is what it is. So moving on. To finish this up, Bitcoin, they state, may have applications beyond simply a store of value. And digital asset markets are much bigger than Bitcoin, but we think that comparing its market cap to gold can help put parameters on plausible outcomes for Bitcoin returns. And of course, every time they talk about this, I have to bring up my visualization, which I love to say, and I know you guys are sick of seeing it, but it is true. Like this is actually 2 years old. This was a great actually opportunity to zoom out. Look at this. These little squares right here are 100 billion. 100 billion. And this was crypto in 2020. 200. Look at that. The total value of all crypto is now, let me see, 244 billion. 240. We're now 10x that. We're at 2.2 trillion. It's pretty good. So if we take a look at that, here is the world's gold at $11 trillion. And before any of the gold bugs shout at me about how wrong I am about Bitcoin, I own silver, I own gold, and I own Bitcoin. I just own a lot more Bitcoin. I still don't understand why everybody's so up in arms and you can't own both, or the trifecta if you really want to, or hey, even little stocks. I just don't understand the debate. So, of course, if you get into 50% of that, let's say 5.5 trillion. We're at 2.2 trillion. Of course, Bitcoin's around $800 billion. I don't see why not, especially if we take a look at all the money that's in the world. Stock market's around 90 trillion. The money supply, which is a lot more now, 35 trillion. Debt is over 200 trillion. Global market is like 280 trillion. Global wealth, 360 trillion. And derivatives, all those great things, Derivatives. 1 quadrillion, which I didn't even think that was actually a real number until I read this. But yeah, it's a real number. So if we take a look at those things, that's where we could be going. And I think as far as like moving on beyond a store of value, using Bitcoin as far like smart contracts, as far as stacks, city coins, Miami and New York are doing that. I think it could be a pretty big play. So let me know what you think about that in the comments section. And then before I move on, just as a quick reminder, last year was a pretty great year. So if you have a ton of profits and you're in the US, this is just for the US for right now. Remember, you go to crypto IRA and I Trust Capital, you can still designate part of your crypto into I Trust Capital, or you can still, you can still allocate funds into your Roth IRA from 2021 all the way up to April 15, 2022, just so you know. And then also, if you're having problems with taxes, this is what I use, cryptotrader.tax. Links in the description. Looks something like that. Use those 3 things. And that's it. So let's move on to the next piece where I tell you the truth, which is I'm biased. So on this channel, just so you know, I'm super biased. Like I usually talk about all the things that I invest into. So I'll talk about Bitcoin, I'll talk about Ethereum, and I'll talk about Cardano, and I'll talk about Solana, and I'll talk about, I don't know, everything else that I have, tons of different things. So when I say these things and I talk about it, just so you know, like I own everything that I can even get my grubby hands on. And this is no exception. So when we talk about crypto and digital assets, these assets, whether they be for store of values, whether they be for smart contracts, layer 1 solutions, layer 2 solutions, and things like that, it gets kind of dicey because there's a lot of different parts in there. And it can really depend on the different global parts of it. But this is one play that I think can do very well, and it's gaming. It's gaming and metaverse plays. And we had talked about this in a video we did about a month ago, December 15th, yeah, roughly a month ago. And it was called Gensukishi online. I know you're probably rolling your eyes right now because on this channel, we don't talk about it that much. This video I did was over at Digital Asset News Clips. And I do a lot of things over there where I just talk about the up and coming projects because doesn't kind of fit into this format. But I wanted to bring this forward because the news today is this. Gensukishi, it was sold on TrustPad, where they do all the different things as far as like bringing new projects to it. And they sold out in 20 seconds. And the reason why I think Gensukishi is going to be pretty well, again, I invested into it. Just so you know that, it's because unlike the other games that are out there, and there's a lot of good games coming out, but Gensukishi, they already have a game that they put on Nintendo Switch because they've been around for like 5-7 years plus. So they already have one on Nintendo Switch, on PlayStation, on iOS or Apple, and on Android. So when you see these, they already have a built-in audience of like, hey, you like these free-to-play games? Well, why don't we give you guys an opportunity for play to earn? And they're going into blockchain gaming and metaverse plays. So that's why I think it's going to be pretty big. And this is just an affirmation of what's going on there. So I'm not going to talk a ton about it, but there's a deep dive. It's up to you to decide if this is something that you think could be added to your portfolio. But remember, do your own research because maybe you're like, Rob's a moron and he doesn't know what he's talking about. That's fine. Don't invest into it. But I bring it to your attention because I do really believe gaming and metaverse are going to be pretty darn big. And you don't have to worry about the different things that are going on in the traditional markets and the regulations and the banks and Congress and all that junk that goes on over there. You can just play some games and get paid for it. Anyhow, let me know what you think. And let's switch gears and talk about the good old stuff, which is banks, regulation, and Bitcoin. So this is a pretty good one from Blockworks. BitMEX execs, they plan to acquire one of Germany's oldest banks. So BitMEX's top brass laying the groundwork for the company's European expansion. And this is the thing, like if you're going to expand, it's better just to buy up an existing infrastructure than build your own, which is why I was so happy when Voyager did the same thing with the French exchange, but they're still taking their time to get into the EU. But hey, BitMEX looks like they're doing okay because they just bought a bank. So BitMEX CEO Alexander Hopner, I think I nailed that, talks about the acquisition of this 260-year-old bank as the first step toward creating a one-stop shop for regulated crypto products across Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. Combine the regulated digital assets expertise of Bankhaus von der Heid, I'm pretty sure I nailed that one, with the crypto innovation and scale of BitMEX, I believe we can create a regulated crypto products powerhouse in the heart of Europe. So first of all, I don't know how big that bank is. It could be very small. It could be very big. I have no idea. I don't live in those places. I try to look it up. Didn't really have much information. I don't really care how big the bank is. What I care about is that this BitMEX gets into and goes, look, we want to expand our tentacles, our reach into the EU. We don't have that ability because we have to jump through all the hoops for the different regulators. Let's just buy a bank. We'll run it all through you guys, and it can be like super simple. So that's what they did. Probably cost them a couple billion. I don't know. There's no details, but that's what makes sense to me. So I don't care about right now, like, well, Rob, if the bank is small, I have no idea. They're like, well, the bank, it doesn't matter because the bank's small. Who cares? As long as they can get in there and the regulation, they're set, and they can kind of just get out there. People want crypto and digital assets. They see how much it actually goes up. They see it actually, and hopefully, if you get enough education, they understand what's going on, and they really want to invest into it. So in this situation, so much the better. I'm happy for them. So to finish this up, the announcement is in line with a growing trend of crypto companies expanding into traditional banking services, like Coinbase and Kraken now offer lending and prime brokerage services. And this actually is not going to be a popular opinion, but I'm sorry, here's what happens. So they were referencing this article. This was back in May 28th. And what it talks about here is a smart way to do things. And they just pretty much say, like, look, we're going to go bearish. And when we go bearish, we have to build. Bearish, build a bear, whatever. And to me, this is how things get done. There is no get-rich-quick scheme. There is no easy work. It is all hard, whether that be physical or mental. And this is what you have to do. Great article. It says there's going to be a bear market at some point. We're here kind of right now. Let's just be honest. And everything will be down. And let me just reiterate something before I go on, before everybody blows up. When we talk about a bear market, there is bearish sentiment out there. I'm not talking about a winter, a crypto winter, which is going to last for 3 years like last time. But let's be honest. We have gone down precipitously from the high of around 69K Bitcoin with a market cap of over $3.1 trillion. And we're down about 40%. And it's been quite some time. Now we're going to go up and down, things like that. But it's pretty much a bearish market. Can we all agree on that? Can we agree on that? Could it flip tomorrow? Sure, it's crypto. I have no idea. So when we talk about these things, this is the time when everything has to be built. And this is the time for me to dollar cost average. And of course, I dollar cost average in, dollar cost average out, take a little profits along the way, have some dry powder, afford things like this, and everything's good. So getting back to the article, and they say that's the time when you really are building the foundation for the next cycle or the next bullish sentiment, we'll say. Coinbase reporting record Q1 earnings early this month, and this was in May, but warned investors that a dip in crypto prices may lead to disappointing numbers going forward. And this is a smart thing from Coinbase. We seek to operate the company at roughly break even in terms of profitability, smooth out over time for the time being. And that's what they told their shareholders. Right now is the time for crypto companies to focus on the infrastructure and services that will be essential in supporting the next run. It's a lot of infrastructural work. It's a lot of building relationships with the projects and regulation and building those services so that when they come back around, we can scale ourselves. So look, I know this is probably not what people want to hear. What a lot of people want to hear is they want to hear the moon is coming and the price of Bitcoin, this price prediction is going to be XYZ, and it's going to really go out, and you're going to have your riches and your Lambos and whatever else. Could that happen tomorrow? No. I'm not even going to say that. It's ridiculous. Could it happen in years to come? Sure. Is it a get-rich-quick scheme? No. There is no get-rich-quick scheme. I know, like, these types of things we talk about, people sometimes don't want to hear it, but it is the truth. And I wish somebody on YouTube would have told me this when I got in 2017, which was, Rob, it doesn't happen overnight. There's just this plan that you have to have. Follow your plan, dollar cost average in, have a little faith, and then just look out. When in doubt, zoom out. And that's the big thing. So that's it. So look, we did that 20 minutes. Dang, I was trying to do this under 20 minutes. I missed it. So let me know what you think about in the comments section. Let's go over the 5 questions. So I'm just going to take 5 questions at random, answer those, and then we'll get out of here. So what do we got? First of all, thanks everybody for coming in. I appreciate it. It's going to moon. These aren't questions. Another 30 to 50 days of sideways. Use it wisely. It's a good point, Jason. Jason, that's a good one. I'm the captain now, right? Anything? Thoughts on AMP? I keep hearing that there's some kind of thing going on with AMP and Amazon, and no one seems to be able to verify that. So, I mean, it could be a good play. But again, if you're focusing your whole investment strategy on a potential partnership that may or may not be announced, it's probably not a great idea. I always like to take a look at the UTT. Take a look at the utility. Does it actually do something? Take a look at the tokenomics. Is everything going to the founders and the team? And then just a little bit is going out to the people. And then also take a look at the tech just to see if there really is something that it's actually good there. Or sorry, the team, and see who's behind it. Tech and team. That's what I would do. Geez, there's a lot of questions about AMP. So there's one. And this is a good point. Travis, that's a mighty mustache. Says we need to shake out the leverage boys still. Yeah, well, if you're going over leverage, depends on what you're doing. I always talk badly about, I don't talk badly, but I am concerned about the leverage plays. But people remind me, like, Rob, you don't understand. What I did was I shorted the market and I leverage played and I made a bunch of money. Good for you. And hey, if that works out, hopefully it keeps working out in that long run. But I got to tell you, I lived in Vegas for a couple of years. And everybody would always tell me about their big wins on the poker table, but they never talked about their losses. Just saying. Goldman Sachs Mafia. Okay. Jerome, if you ask me this again, I will ban you from this place. Thoughts on Assemble Protocol. I don't have any thoughts on Assemble Protocol. That's it. And don't spam the comment section. Jeez, there's like 20 of you in here. Ugh. Okay. So there's 3, or is that 2? XRP and SEC. I've always said this before. This is 4. It's going to take a long time. This is probably a 3-year litigation. I've been sued before, and it took me roughly that much time. This is on a much bigger scale. I know there's been people talking about how they're looking to go into. They've already gone through discovery. The question then is, can they meet in the middle and make a deal through mediation? And maybe, but I don't see that actually happening. I think the SEC wants to prove a point with Ripple. And I don't care if you are a fan of Ripple or a hater of Ripple, you really should be rooting for Ripple in this and give them all the support they can, because I think whichever way this goes is going to shift the market. This is going to be awful for the market if they come in and say, well, XRP is a security. No, now let's just get some clarity, right? This is what a lot of different people who have told me that are behind projects. They go, look, we don't care what you call it, just call it something. Now we know where to go. Securities, you can get securities all day long. On Robinhood, they're called stocks. So why don't we just say, all right, fine, security, just go from there. It'll be a big pain initially, but not for us. Big pain for the projects. But I mean, we might have to do that. All right. James did an amazing video on Bitcoin mining companies. Yes, he did. I saw that. I should follow it. Check it out. Yeah, might be a good one if you want to get into Bitcoin by proxy. And last question. Oh, this is a great question. Woo Kim says, hey, any future meetup scheduled? Yes. So we're going to do another meetup here in Puerto Rico. This will be next Wednesday, and I need to do some reservation and take a look at it at a place called the Smokehouse. I got to reach out to that guy and see what it is. So that'll be today Wednesday? Today's Wednesday. So in a week. So I'll tell everybody hopefully by this weekend where it is, when it is, and all that good stuff. And that's it. So look, thanks so much everybody for stopping by. I appreciate it. If you liked today's video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Just click on the thumbs button, subscribe, and all that great stuff. So that's it for today. Thanks so much for watching. See you on the next one.